All right, it is 12:01 Central, 1:01 Eastern. I'm going to go ahead and get this kicked off. My name is Julie Lawson. I'm the Director of Operations and Partnerships over here at the Loss Prevention Foundation. And it's my pleasure to host today's webinar, which is Inside the Mind of the Modern Thief: How Today's Surveillance Tech Outsmarts Crime. Today's webinar is sponsored by Pavion. Pavion is a leading provider of integrated fire, security, and communication solutions, empowering organizations to protect their people, assets, and data with cutting edge technology and exceptional service. With a rich history of providing cutting edge connection and protection to customers globally, Pavion has established itself as a trusted partner for businesses across various industries, delivering comprehensive solutions tailored to meet the unique needs of each client. With that, before I turn it over, just to go over a couple of webinar logistics. First, today's session is being recorded. So with that, everyone was muted upon entry. If you do need to go back and rewatch this session, feel free to go to your original registration link. You'll be able to access that from there or share it with somebody else that wasn't able to attend. If you do have any questions, we're going to have a good amount of time at the end for some Q&A. So feel free to pop any questions throughout the session into that Q&A box, or you can send them directly to me, but it is easier if they're all popped into that Q&A section. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Michelle Don Moody, who will be helping host and moderate the conversation and introduce today's speakers.
Hello and welcome to this webinar brought to you by Pavion. I'm your host, Michelle Dawn Mooney. Today we are talking about, well, we're going inside the mind of the modern thief, how today's surveillance tech outsmarts crime. There are definitely some bad actors out there, and the good news is we have some solutions to help you deal with them. And we have some great guests for this conversation today. Steve Francis is account executive for Pavion, and Matthew Beatty is technology and equipment specialist sales engineer for Pavion. Thank you both for being with me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Glad to have you here because we're not so glad to to think about the bad actors that I addressed in the beginning. And we all know that sometimes it's really hard to stay on top of what we need to be doing to avoid some of those situations. So I am thrilled to have you both here to give your insight, and we have a lot to get to. But before we do that, Steve, maybe starting with you, can we ask you for a brief bio if you can, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Steve Francis, National Account Manager for Pavion here. Yeah, I've been in the industry for 8 years now. So been with Pavion all 8 years. Or Pavion subsidiary. Yeah, love this industry. Have been had a privilege of having a lot of bigger customers and customers through a multitude of different industries. Um, like I said, love the industry and excited to see where it takes us here in the future.
And what about you, Matthew?
Well, I just like Steve, I've been in the industry for a little over 10 years now. I was with a company that Pavion recently acquired, and I've been working here as a sales and engineer. I started off in the tech support room, where we did a lot of the staging, the programming, and supporting all the various systems that we have out there. And we're just looking forward to where this is going right now. It's kind of an exciting time.
Yeah, and you have extensive backgrounds, both of you, in the security and loss prevention space. So, what trends are both of you seeing today that signal a shift in how theft and criminal behavior are evolving?
Yeah, I guess for me, I'll jump in first, Matt. But for me, when I joined the industry, customers were putting in systems, mostly from obviously there's a loss prevention component, but a lot of times just from a slip and fall safety standpoint. And the systems were very I don't want to call them basic, but the functionality was not too different than years past, where it's just you find out of an incident and then you go back and review the footage of an incident, and the evolution to um, you know first off to like a centralized, a centralized server on all these units to be able to go in and view a system from anywhere. Was pretty groundbreaking back when, and then the evolution from an analytics standpoint or an AI standpoint as well has really been the obviously the big driver. The capabilities that someone can do into a system where the analytics are alerting you of suspicious behavior. The analytics are alerting you of some activity after a certain time period that you don't want someone there, where a person shows up or what have you. It's really been a game changer for our customers. I think it's been a progressive shift, and I see more and more customers asking the question of, hey, I've typically used my system for a basic recording and reviewing, but they understand that there's we've helped them understand there's a lot more that the systems can do in terms of, like I said, analytics and AI, and that's really been a big driver the last few years. And so we've been able to help a lot of customers out, just really maximizing their equipment and maximizing the capabilities of their system to to catch the bad guy as much as we can using the tools that the systems have these days.
Yeah, just going off of what like Steve has said, like everything used to be very static. Everything was reactive. An event would happen. The manager would come in and review the footage later on. Maybe they would call the police, turn over whatever random footage that they had to the police, and then they'd be able to investigate it like much later. But everything was, there was a lot of low resolution analog cameras that were out there. Everything was a very manual process. So you had to go back and you had to go through minute by minute trying to find things. There was a lot of human error that was in it. You had to try to figure out what was going on. And then just the ability to scale, like try to figure out what you're trying to find and what you're trying to, locate all the way through it, and being able to share that with other stores. If you had other franchises or anything else, being able to get it, if somebody robbed one of your stores, being able to go to a different store, and they kind of already knew what your processes were. They're able to keep reapplying that over and over and over again, to where it was easy for them because they had their playbook to do things, which is kind of what video surveillance is catching up for now. We have our own kind of playbook to try to counteract all that.
So, as a follow up to that, what tactics or behaviors are you seeing more frequently then among organized retail criminals or repeat offenders?
Well, I guess for me, like I said before, like we have quite a bit of customers in kind of different facets and different verticals and different industries. So, you know, we have traditional retail customers in a mall, and we have we have customers that have their storage companies as well. So we kind of have a mixed bag of everything. So we kind of see, yes, we do focus on retail, but as we say, that's anything with a cash register. So that can be quite a bit different business from a traditional, let's say a mall customer or a mall company, let's say, to, like I said, to a storage company. So quite a bit different. And then the incidences that we see at one retailer could be completely different than what we see at a storage company. But I guess the trends that we do see is we do see a lot of and I don't think it's anything groundbreakingly new, but we see a lot of repeat offenders that have success in one store brand, and they'll go to the next closest brand of store. And we're fortunate enough to have a lot of customers with a lot of locations. So a store for one of our customers could be a mere 2 miles away from one location to another. So we see that a lot where customers have success, stealing in a certain brand, and they stick in that brand. Now, will they deviate and will they go to a competitor brand or something similar? Sure, of course, but we do see a lot of times them stick in brand. So yeah, focusing on our customers to making sure they have a presence in every location will definitely help them from an ORC standpoint, because we just see so often that one success means that they're going to go back to the well at that particular customer. So
I would say that based off of that, you have people who, with the rise of social media, at first when it started off and everybody was just on Facebook or whatever, saying hi to their grandma, hi to whoever, catching up with old classmates, that's that's like the old version of it. Now you have a lot of the other ones out there that are like TikTok and Twitter and things. And, then you have Discord and you have all these communication things and Signal. All these ways are out there for people to be able to coordinate, be able to communicate and try to get together and plan things. Everybody, the big things that make the media are the big flash mobs where, you have 20 people run into a store. They're stealing everything they can that's within a certain distance of like the entryways, or they're going for just the high value items as quick as they can because they can get a quick turnaround and get rid of it. And that's flashy. That always makes the news whenever things like that happen. But you have things like, people who go in and just do shelf sweeping. They know what things, make a lot of money. Laundry detergent is a big crazy thing that's out there. You have people who are just walking and getting a cart full of, power tools or whatever, and then they're just going straight out the door. You have people who are doing, like Seema said, they'll go from store A to store B of the same customer, and they will do fraudulent returns. They'll steal it at one place, return it at the other with the tag still on it, and they're trying to just get money back as fast as they can because that's a very fast turnaround, and they're hoping that nobody's paid attention, that they went to a store on one side of town, try to return it on the other side of town, and that they're just trying to get money out of it very quickly that way. And that's, between them coordinating ahead of time, knowing what they're going to do, learning the store's return policies, learning the store's policies. Hey, you can't touch us on the way out the door. You can't do whatever. Criminals are getting smarter with a lot of it, and that's kind of what leads us to try to come up with new ways to stop them before they even really get started inside with a lot of our customers.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think, Matthew, some of those examples you just shared, because I have returned quite a few items in my time. And thinking that, other people are doing what I'm doing it honestly, but not even taking into consideration that there are people that are buying things at other stores that didn't buy them there, and just a crazy scenario to think about. So, with that said, what vulnerabilities or blind spots do criminals often exploit, particularly in traditional surveillance systems?
well, I think adoption has, camera system will say adoption has definitely gone up significantly, but I know working with a customer recently here that has had no virtually no systems out in their field. And it's an obvious statement, but the criminals maybe 10 years ago weren't thinking about this as much, but we've noticed just in putting just putting a camera system in general, just the perception of the customer who walks in and sees a camera system in place that's visible and looks somewhat sophisticated is a massive deterrent, of course. And one thing we've really zoned in on lately is, like I said, using the system from an analytics standpoint, but really there's also a lot to that. There's really a lot of kind of operational metrics and operational improvements that can be had by leveraging the camera system. Of course, it depends on the customer and the specifics of what they're in business to do. But if we can get employees, doing, helping with engagement when a customer comes in, and operating in a way that their company wants them to. We also see theft going down as well. So I say the camera systems, from an obvious standpoint, when a customer or when a bad actor comes in, they can see a system that will deter them. But really, also, being able to leverage it for operational reasons to make sure the store personnel is doing everything they can to greet a customer or what have you. Being able to audit kind of the operational flow of the environment is a big driver as well, and kind of lowering that.
Definitely. And with that, a lot of the systems that are out there, they do audits. Holidays are a crazy thing because where people are putting their signage, if it's 4th of July, if it's Valentine's Day with a lot of balloons, if it's different things like that, the operational audits will help with that as well, because you can see that you're blocking a 30-year cameras with overstock. You're stocking things on top of the galleys, the galleries that you have your products on. So you're noticing you're starting to block a lot of your views. You're starting to give more. You're starting to create more blind spots essentially with your system. You're starting to do. You're starting to make sure that employees are doing the right thing. If you're getting your operational audits from the beginning, and you can see that, hey, they're restocking things like they're supposed to do. They're keeping the store clean. That goes back to the old slip and fall things. If somebody left a wet floor sign out for a week straight and somebody notices that the wet floor sign's been there, is that a maintenance issue that's going on, or is that just your employees they're not putting in any kind of effort to check things and see what else is going on with it? You can do cash register audits to see if somebody's giving discounts to people that are coming in, or if they're kind of looking the other way and letting people. One of the old things that came up was the old banana trick during COVID, where you would just you'd put in the code for bananas, you'd weigh whatever random thing you wanted to buy, and the cash register's like, well, he's actually buying something, so it didn't really trigger any alarms. But with with operational audits and some of the other things that are out there, you can see what's going on all the way through. That goes out to like big storage facilities. You can see who's coming in when they put in their code at the door. You can see if somebody's trying to come in right behind them, if somebody's basically trying to get bumper to bumper coming in. You can also see what's going on with that. If they're trying to bring somebody else in, you can see if there's people who shouldn't be there coming in because they've never put in the code, but you've noticed that same vehicle there once or twice. You can make sure that, your normal operations are going on and that they're more secure operations, as opposed to just letting kind of everybody just do whatever they want. And that goes all the way back to the employees being safe at the same time.
So, what are the key features of today's intelligent video surveillance systems? Because they really have grown by leaps and bounds that give an edge over these criminal tactics that we're hearing about.
Really, I put it in kind of I don't know, two really highly simplistic buckets, right? I mean, one, usability from an end user standpoint, right? I mean, it's got to be a system's got to be easy to use, and can be used across across several people throughout a company. So usability, ease of use is always a huge one. But analytics, no surprise there, but analytics are so important. And it's not just the system, it's not just a system that has the capability of analytics, but it's a partner that knows, how to leverage those analytics. It's no small endeavor to set up analytics to your company's needs, really, because as we talked about at the start of the call, the problems that a traditional, we'll call it mall customer, runs into are so different than other retail customers, or like we mentioned, storage companies as well. Vastly different issues that they're dealing with, right? And so the types of analytics needed in one customer may be applicable to one customer, but it could be applicable to another customer. So having a partner that really understands the capabilities and has a great partnership with the manufacturer to set up all the analytics that the particular that solves for the particular customer's needs is key. So again, I'm just gonna put it into two very simple buckets: ease of use and analytics.
So, how does AI powered surveillance work in real world loss prevention?
I would say the easiest thing to do with that is it provides just real time analysis to help what's going on with a lot of newer systems that are out there. A lot of different integrated or a lot of different systems that we have that are out there will let you, they'll let you track a person by what they're wearing, what color clothing they're at, what color vehicle it is. If it's a vehicle, if you have license plate readers, it's going to let you know, hey, this vehicle has been, you know, when they've been here before, it's been tied to thefts that people have left in that vehicle. So you can see when it comes onto your property that you might want to start paying attention to who's getting into it and getting out of it. There's object recognition that you can use with it, whether it's, people, whether it's things left by doors, if the door's propped open or anything else like that, you can see that. If there's just boxes that are for some reason left, like in your delivery doors, if somebody is purposely leaving boxes by like the back door just to where they're easy to grab on the way out if your employee is actually, helping facilitate some of these issues. Uh, Behavioral analysis is another thing that goes with it. If somebody is constantly walking off to like a, people are going off to like a back corner of the store, or if they're, only hovering in like certain areas, if it's because there's something there that they're genuinely interested in as far as for sales, or if there's something there that's a high value item that they're wanting to steal, and they're basically just kind of seeing how easy it is to get at it. I mean, it'll help with reduce false alarms. Um, you can see if somebody's actually legitimately taking something. As some of the analytics can detect if you're putting something into a bag or putting something into your coat pocket or hiding underneath your jacket. It's the whole object detection, object removal one that they use a lot. And another thing that goes with it is the information sharing that goes with it. It's no longer just isolated to one store. You can share it across all of your stores, not just in the region, but all your stores nationally for some of these groups that go from one city to another city to another city. You go back to, like I said at the start, license plate readers will help you do it, identifying vehicles, identifying people. You can start honing in on where these people are, who they are, and you can start letting stores know in advance. So once they get to your store, loss prevention is notified, the store managers are notified, and you can even notify law enforcement, whether it's locally or if you do have like a real-time monitoring service that's out there.
The primary reason we're doing this webinar, we want people to be prepared. There's a big difference between being passive and proactive. So, what's the difference between passive and proactive surveillance?
Well, I would say passive is more, it's going to be after the fact. Somebody, your store, you notice something was lost or missing, 2 or 3 days after the fact when you do, your weekly inventories, or somebody's like, if you're trying to sell something and then you go and you look for it and it's not there and you're trying to find out how it was sold because your inventory says it's still there. If there's things that aren't located where they're supposed to be, if you're finding, if you're finding empty packages in certain places, that just means that thieves are comfortable grabbing something in your store, walking to another place, opening it up and leaving with it. So that's going to be more of a passive thing you're going to find out after the fact. With active monitoring and some of these other things that we have out there, somebody is watching them, the analytics kick in on the cameras, the AI kicks in on the cameras, and it flags somebody, and somebody in real time can look at it and can watch them, whether they're going from one camera to another, whether they're, no matter where they're going inside the store or on the property, even for some of the larger properties, you're able to track them from place to place. And if you see them doing something, you can keep an eye on them. You can build your case file. This is what's going on. This is what we noticed. This is what we saw. Even if you've seen them somewhere else before, you can keep track of all that. And then the police can be notified in real time to where you're not, just putting out a picture later on, hey, don't let this person back in the store. The police can arrest them at the time when they're leaving, so that your loss prevention doesn't have to open your company up for any other further issues. It's monitored. Your case is all nicely built right there. Documentation is done. You can turn it over to the proper authorities.
And you talked about keeping track. So, how do you ensure cloud based systems remain secure, scalable, and accessible for teams across multiple sites?
Well, with that, it's a lot of that's just going to be built on the integration that comes with it. With a lot of our partners that we have, you're able to share things. It's on the web, so it's all going to be secure, secure networking. It's all hidden behind whether it's a VPN or whether it's hidden, just through proprietary software. It really depends which partner you're working with. But a lot of it is going to be it's stored. It's all stored according to local laws. Some places don't allow you to keep people's faces for more than a certain amount of time. But if you have a legitimate reason to keep it, like they've stolen things, or they've been suspected of stealing things, you can keep that. And then the software for, like I said, for several of our partners are able to realize, and they're able to apply it to other stores whenever they come in. And as far as keeping it secure in the cloud, it does help share all the way across everything. So a lot of it is going to be access based, and you have to make sure whether it's through passwords, whether you're limiting who has access to that, whether it's just your loss prevention managers or your store managers. If you're limiting who can alter it or delete it, if you're altering just who, if you're just limiting to who you need to use it, that's going to help make it secure all the way across, as opposed to just writing a password down, keeping it on a sticky note, and having everybody have access to it. Because if everybody in your store has access to it, there's a chance other people can have access to it.
Yeah. I want to talk about prevention in real time. How does integration between video, alarms, access control, and intrusion detection create a smarter LP system?
With a lot of the systems, like again, we're heading towards, everything is starting to like more of a convergence. Everything talks to each other. It's not just a plain alarm out on the back of a DVR anymore. Hey, this door was left open, and when this door is left open, the camera is just going to watch the door until the alarm stops sounding. We're getting, if things are left in front of doors, which is a big safety thing that OSHA really hates, is if you're leaving boxes in front of doors or just boxes all over the place. Where, if there's a alarm that keeps getting tripped on a regular basis, that's all being noted. It's being noted in the software. It's being noted on operational reports that are available through most of our partners. You're starting to see more of it coming together in a smarter way, to where it's not just one system and then you have to log out of that, go log into something else to try to do it, or it's manual ways to go get it. Like you have to reset a burglar alarm, you have to wait for somebody else to come out and check it. With a lot of the integrations that are out there, you're able to, the camera will watch it for you. The alarm's going off. It's notifying the police, notifying the fire. A lot of them, with the live monitoring stations that are out there, they're able to watch it to see whether it was just a homeless person, messing with your doors, or whether it was a legitimate burglar alarm, whether it was a fire that's taking place because of, whether it's a homeless person, or whether it was a legitimate fire that happened because of something structural with your building. With it all kind of coming together, you get a much clearer picture of everything that's going on, facilities wise, operations wise, and more importantly, in our case, safety wise, all the way through it.
And it's just like, goes into the ease of use, right? I mean, with integration, you drastically cut down on review times. So if you're looking for an incident and you have, let's say, access control integrated with your camera system, it just makes our loss prevention partners, makes their job so much easier to go find, the person went through this door and then an incident happened. It can go find that a lot easier with integration. So again, with the ease of use, we just see the integration being key in that.
Can you walk through what proactive video monitoring looks like in action?
Yeah, so proactive video monitoring sounds exactly exactly how it sounds, a proactive approach to an incident happening. So we have partnerships out there, um, with companies that can detect through analytics in the camera, someone being not where they're supposed to be, someone potentially doing something they're not supposed to be doing, and an alert going directly to a monitoring center to do a series of whatever commands that the customer likes, whether it be call the store manager, district manager, or directly to the police. It's a sophisticated way to leverage analytics, sophisticated analytics, to essentially react immediately upon when those analytics are satisfied, essentially.
So, what results have you seen? Because I'm all about the results, right? Let's talk about proof is in the pudding. What results have you seen from implementing proactive monitoring or integrated surveillance systems?
I would say like from some of the reports we get back, like with our customers, because there's always that, like when you're first starting with it, we're trying to fine tune the system. We're trying to make sure that the analytics make sense. Um, what we're finding out is we have a much there's usually a much better response time. Sometimes it's even better than when if they have if they're paying for like a guard service or anything like that. A lot of times it's a better response time that's going with that because they have the video. They're able to pass that directly on to law enforcement. Law enforcement really likes the fact that it's not just an alarm going off. It's somebody like, I am still watching this person. This is where they are. This is what I can see. And this is where they are in the building. It helps law enforcement, especially with if they can keep an eye on the person all the way through. It's a little bit easier with that proactive video monitoring. They're able to, put, you know, all the data together and see what it is. So with they're able to get reports at the end of the day. Hey, we were able to talk down and you know, the guy that was behind your facility or the guy that was loitering and spending a little bit too much time in your area. We warned him that he needed to leave. We warned him that he was, under surveillance and that he was being watched and that we're monitoring. And we also notified him that we were going to, notify the local authorities. And you can let them know, hey, before it even gets to false alarms and having to notify the police, a lot of systems that we're out there will talk down to them. You need to leave. You need to leave the area. We know what you're doing here. Some of them are, especially with live monitoring, if they could talk down directly to them. Hey, I know what you're wearing. I know what you're doing. I know where you came from. And this is what's going on. And a lot of times as people feel that engagement and it's not just an alarm klaxon going off in the background or just a light coming on, they're more inclined to leave and stop and just alter their behaviors, especially when they know that, hey, they can see exactly what I'm doing. And if the authorities are on their way, I really need to leave this area and go do something else somewhere else.
So let me ask you this from your experience. Let's talk about kind of uh, tangible ROI, maybe. How does modern surveillance impact things like shrink reduction, employee safety, or maybe liability?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, all those things, right? From a liability standpoint, when you have eyes on your location, of course, that will certainly help you. And from a shrink standpoint, obviously it's going to the financial impact's obviously going to be different just based on one customer to another or even one store to another. So hard to specifically quantify that, but we see, especially when we're putting a new camera system in or a more sophisticated system in, that can push out analytics. We see a significant reduction, and we have a few customers and we're just rolling out programs through, and what we see is, they usually have us going into, a couple of their highest shrink stores, just to get a system put in, and then they see such a significant reduction that Now they're one of a system in every store, even stores that traditionally have lower shrink, or what they would call low shrink. They still see a reduction. They see the internal and external reduction going down. So, like I said, to quantify that is difficult, but across the board we see a reduction from theft and liability standpoint, no questions asked.
And how do you communicate the ROI of security tech upgrades to decision makers?
Yeah, I think what we can do, and I've gone down this road before, but we have a lot of good partnerships, a lot of good relationships with customers, and although we would never give a customer's name or anything, we do get blessings to share the results that they've had and their loss prevention rollout program with our customers. So, like I said, we have a lot of good partnerships, a lot of good customers out there that they believe in us, they believe in our product, they believe in what we do, and the beautiful thing about the loss prevention world out there is it's very collaborative, right? And so, it's not you go to an industry conference, it's not it's not like there's not a lot of there I'm sure there is secrets out there, but everyone seems to kind of all have the same goal in mind, which is to limit risk and also catch the bad guy. So they're kind of sharing, they're open to sharing successes and what have you. So yeah, we like to use our past customer successes and show them show our prospective customers or new customers kind of the financial benefit that they've received from some of the various programs we roll out for them. And we like to show them that, and that can help sway their decision.
So, what's one misconception businesses have about surveillance technology today?
Getting customers to get out of the just standard just the standard record and review system. I think that is always an eye opener. Like, I know a lot of customers and a lot of people in the industry, they do understand what a system can do, the capabilities of a system, but we have a lot of customers that a lot of new customers that they either have they've heard kind of the phrases out there about analytics and whatnot, but it's almost no partner of theirs that they've had has kind of taken the time to help them really understand how it can move their business forward. And that's our job, right? Our job is to be their kind of their security arm, their security consultant, where we can say, hey, I know you've been using a camera system traditionally for this way, but you can add technology and use it in this way, or we can help you with the current technology you have to better leverage it. And so, like I said, that's kind of our role, is to be the trusted partner there, and just help guide them to maximize their system within their budget, to best combat the problems they're having.
And I would say as their needs change, a lot of systems are out there. If they start off with just a good surveillance system to start with a lot of the integrations that were out there, like we had talked about before, if you start integrating in their POS systems from the get go, you can start reducing shrink, because you can start seeing who's doing what where. It's not just somebody's log on; it's a log on and a picture, because we have cameras that'll watch the registers, and you can see if one employee is using somebody else's log on. We can do audits as far as for the store, so they start getting their operational audits built into their one into their one surveillance system that goes with it. We could track traffic that goes around the store. You can do heat mapping to help them out. All these are just value added things that go with the system. And if you get them a system that has the capabilities they need to start with, you can always let them know, hey, in the future there are all these other things. If you like what it's doing for your first problem, there's probably a way that this can help you with some of your other problems going on, and help make this a more integrated and more centralized system for you, to help you get, because you're not using different systems, you do get a better return on investment for the entire thing all the way through.
So, if you could give one piece of advice to someone starting their security tech upgrade, what would it be?
I would say develop trusted relationships with partners. And and that goes beyond just with like an integrator like us or a manufacturer. If you're starting a loss prevention program, like, hey, get involved into the loss prevention community. Talk to other retailers, see what partnerships have worked for them, see what technologies have worked for them. But also, from an integrator standpoint and manufacturer standpoint, partnership is key. Having someone, having a resource or multiple resources that know technology, that can go into your business and understand, your pain points that you're having, and can understand how to solve for those pain points in all different budgets, right? Um, I think that's key is partnership.
I would also say just flexibility with what you're looking at, as opposed to just getting going to a big box store and just grabbing a DVR and camera system like they always seem to have available. Getting with a partner who can explain the differences between, just a very simple off the shelf one, or one that'll do what you want it to and also grow with your needs in the future. Because, this might meet your needs today, but, as you expand your business and you want to do more and you want to integrate more, it is important to have that flexibility that's there for you. It doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. A lot of services, things, Steve can tell you, a lot of them are kind of a la carte. If you want to start adding on some of these other things later on, it's all about the flexibility. And if you do find yourself with a new problem, you can always go back and talk to, your county executive or your sales rep and say, hey, can you help us with this problem as well? And with the flexibility and with a lot of things that are out there, we can always try to add more to help you with whatever problem may arise in the future.
So, last question from me. What's next in the evolution of surveillance tech that you are really excited about? Because I know these advancements are happening so quickly. So, give me your thoughts there.
I'm excited to see, the analytics and the AI evolve. Excited and scared, right? Yeah, no. No, I'm excited to see just, I think our partners are producing some incredible analytics out there and very usable technology. I think, 5, 6 years ago, I think analytics were starting to get on the scene a little bit, but it was like, it was neat to see, but in practice, it was extremely hard, if not impossible, to execute, to get them to get them zoned in to exactly what you're trying to solve for. I'm real interested to see, how much our world here in security becomes operational, in terms of these systems being used so heavily from an operations standpoint. I really believe that that's where the technology is heading, and that's where it is gone, and that's where it's going. So I'm real interested to see, as the technology progresses, just how much we can unearth from an operations standpoint at an individual store, how much that can tell us and how much that can help them run their business.
I would say the continued integration and just the fact that people are finding new ways to keep using, kind of old ideas. When you have your system and you're trying to figure out where things are and what they're doing, there's companies that are out there that are starting to use like little Bluetooth trackers on their high value item things to where they know where it is in the store at all times and they know when it walks out of the store. You can deactivate it at the register, or if it is a project that needs to be activated, you can activate it at the register. And once that Bluetooth tracker knows that it's there, it's being paid for, and it runs through little RFID tags on a bunch of different, on just different items. Again, it helps with your inventory management. It helps let you know where things are in the store, and it lets you know where things are just all across your property. Oh, well, if you have just a normal office setting and somebody puts their little RFID tag on your laptop, you know where in the building it is, you can find it. And that's something that everybody has gotten used to with their find my iPhone, find my device. There's you can reapply these to everything throughout the entire security industry if you're really worried about trying to find where things are and where things are going, and just to make sure that everything operationally is where it's supposed to be. If you want to do a quick inventory of things in your building, like, do you have the right amount of fire extinguishers? Do you have the right amount of anything where it's supposed to be? You can know just almost instantly where everything is, and you can make sure that you're meeting all the requirements you have for your business.
Matthew Beatty, Technology and Equipment Specialist, Sales Engineer for Pavion. Steve Francis, Account Executive for Pavion. I want to thank both of you for your time. Really great insight here, looking into those criminal minds and figuring out, more importantly, solutions on how we can hopefully stop them in their tracks. So really appreciate you being here and giving us your time today. Thank you for being a part of this webinar.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's been great.
And I want to thank all of you for tuning in, and keep tuning in, because we are going to kick you over to a Q&A where you can ask more questions, dive a little deeper into what we're talking about here today. But rest assured that anything that was not covered, or if you had additional questions, there is somebody who can definitely help you out. We invite you to visit pavion.com for any information there, contact information, additional resources. But right now we are going to kick it over to the Pavion team for a little Q&A.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to hop over into Q&A. Steve, Matt, thank you so much. There was so much good information there. I want to start by saying, Matt, I chuckled at your Find My iPhone comment. I use that off my watch so often. And even the new feature where it's just like, you're like 60 feet away, you're 30 feet away. And it's amazing, just the technology out there. But y'all said some really good things throughout the whole webinar, but specifically at the very end, there were things that really stuck to me. As a former retailer, I was on the retail side for 10.5 years, and then I flipped over to the solution provider side about 7 or 8 years ago. And the question was, what should somebody be considering as they're actually starting a program? And so I loved the answers that you both gave, relationships and flexibility. I loved the relationship side. And Steve, you expanded on that a little bit even more, although I'm going to tie it a tiny bit more. You had mentioned how much operations is starting to get out of these programs or platforms or solutions. And it's not just relationships with our solution providers, it's relationships within the business themselves, because then they're able to actually potentially share those costs, which I think is absolutely incredible. And then Matt, you'd mentioned the flexibility with growing your needs. So starting a brand new program, you don't just want to think about, okay, what do I need today? What do I need about, what do I need 10 years from now? And y'all's technology it wasn't a thing when I was on the retail side. So I can only imagine how much easier it is for retailers to be able to go after a specific problem and not have to sit there and search through that footage. But with that, I'm going to expand on that question a tiny bit. What would you say would be things that somebody that already has an existing program should consider as they're looking to expand, reimagine, move forward? What are things that an existing retailer that has a product should be thinking about or looking at as they look to expand?
Yeah, I'll take that one. And I think, I think it starts, really with making sure you have, we talked about it in the webinar, just good partnerships, right? If you have a trusted partner, that's a great place to start when you're, let's say, upgrading your security technology at your facilities. But yeah, finding a trusted partner you can kind of bounce ideas off of. And also just has a partner that has experience, helping customers solve their problems. You mentioned, navigating internally to find all different types of people that can use the system. We've got experience, helping our customers do that and helping them realize, all the different facets and all the different parts of the company that can use a system. So yeah, I think a trusted partnership's key, and in our industry with so much technology out there, Again, just finding a partner that understands the landscape out there and that can recommend solutions that can specifically solve the business problems.
Well, and it's not just about creating those relationships too. It's about like, it's not about even just shrink. It's not just about making sure the product is there to sell. It's about potentially solving problems before they even actually occur, which I think is so great as you look to expand that, whether it's through the risk management department or the operations department. What are other departments that you would say that you have seen normally it always starts in loss prevention and then it grows from there when people realize there's this cool technology out there. What are other departments that you've seen actually kind of work with the LP space aside from operations that can, that your audience could potentially reach out to discuss what solutions are available to, again, help with that shared cost?
Yeah, you mentioned, operations, obviously the big one, regional managers, district managers, things of that nature, of course. But we've seen HR get involved in systems as well. We've seen legal as well. We're also working with a customer right now, where we're getting connected to their, I guess, their corporate store ops team. So the personnel responsible for planograms and things of that nature, leveraging the systems, specifically like heat mapping and in the systems, to be able to know, where a reasonable place is to place product and shift product around, just based on customer traffic. So those are just like a few of the many different departments we've seen get involved in security systems out there.
I love that. And some it's like you think, okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. And then some you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, but I didn't think about that. So great opportunities for the audience to be able to, reach out to other folks within your organizations that you may not work very heavily with, but that could potentially get benefit. And again, that shared cost is always something I remember going back to my retail days was always more enticing from a budgetary perspective. Now, we did have another question come in live here. And if you have any questions, pop those into the Q&A section. We still have time for a couple of more, but this one came in. Let's see what we can get here. In the retail environment, outputting EAS pedestal alarms are possible alarms to use. If so, do you incorporate door jam cameras in the suite of cameras available?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Door jam cameras or multi-on cameras is a big strategy that we implement with a lot of our customers. So, and it obviously depends on depends on the particulars of your location as to which particular camera we'd recommend. But yeah, definitely part of a strategy we work with customers out there.
I would,
All
yeah.
right. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like Hanwha has a new camera right now where it's 180 degree. That's really excellent for like delivery doors and like where employees can come in and out of buildings. So you could tie that into your access control. You can see who's coming in and going on a pretty regular basis as well. So it doesn't just have to be like your front door with the customers coming in and out, although it could be used for that as well. That's a pretty easy way to go. There's a ton of different other ones too that we could use to get a view of somebody. If you're trying to get somebody like when they're coming in, and if they like to wear their ball cap snug down real low and they never want to look up, having cameras at different levels and different angles is a really important tool that you can use, because just whether it's at a counter or anywhere, like when somebody can first come in, if you can get a lower view of somebody and then you already know what they're wearing, and if you could track them throughout the whole store, again with the analytics, if that's all tied in, it does make it a lot easier to keep track of somebody who's going on, and you can get that better picture for law enforcement authorities later on.
Yeah, absolutely. So just before I close this out, any other kind of parting thoughts for our audience here?
I would say that there's a lot of systems that are out there. There's a lot of different ways to go about solving problems. Sometimes it's really difficult to not be really specific. Like when you're talking about like a specific system, it's really easy to go into all the different things it can do, and like all the different parts that make it up, all the different analytics that system A can use for system B. And a lot of that is like where Steve got into when it comes with working with your partner, having trust in them and seeing what else is out there. There's new things that come out every day, new integrations that we can use with different companies. And just because, you have system A, there's, tons of things that are out there could be added to it that are value added to it. With a lot of what's going on in the world today, like weapon detection has become a big thing. We went from, shot spotter, where everybody, there's things out there listening for the weapon, to where you're more proactive, like when people first walk in, with not just the detectors that, pick up metal or whatever going through, but there's concealed weapons detectors you can pick up. There's analytics that'll pick up weapons outside. I know a lot of people have switched to cameras like in their parking lots and cameras on the exteriors, just to kind of push that standoff distance out a little bit further, so you can kind of see what's going on. And having things like that out there, if you're worried about public safety, if you're worried about safety of your staff, which is a really big thing, if your staff doesn't feel safe, your turnover might be a little bit higher. But if you can help them feel safe and you can empower them with that, and you let them know that you're doing everything to keep them safe, as far out as all the way out to the parking lot where they might be parking, where customers might be parking, those are big improvements that you can look for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned employee safety, because it all starts with the employees. If the employees aren't there, then there's no one there to service the customer. So it does all start with our employees.
And I would just encourage everybody, reach out to me, email me or hit me up on LinkedIn, ask me some questions if you guys have any questions out there that weren't asked here on the webinar. But I'm always have an appetite to talk to people, find out their business problems. Obviously, I'm not going to stalk you or anything, just a conversation or something like that. If you guys are interested, just please reach out. We have a lot of experience with customers, and definitely would love to hear the problems you all are having.
Absolutely. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. So first comes first, if you are interested in getting your LPC or LPQ or a lifetime membership, please leverage that promo code. It's 20% off. It's definitely a great amount there. That promo code has been extended through October 31st. So feel free to leverage that. We also will be giving away 5 course scholarships. So make sure that you take a look at your inbox. You do have to claim those within 5 business days. Otherwise, it gets rolled to somebody else. So don't miss out on that opportunity. And then also, if you have not already signed up for our webinar notifications, please leverage that QR code there on the left. That's going to get you signed up just for a free guest account, gets you notified of all of our webinars, like the one that we had today, like the one that we had on Tuesday. We've got several scheduled for October, various topics, some that may apply, some that may apply to somebody else in your organization that you might want to forward it to. And then otherwise, if you are not already subscribed to the magazine and you're in the US, it is a free digital or a free copy that can get sent to you 4 times a year in your mailbox. And it also is sent out several times digitally throughout the year. So if you're not in the US, you also could get that from a digital perspective. And then otherwise, last but not least, thank you so much, Pavion, for sponsoring today's webinar. Steve, Matt, y'all were great, very informative. I know I'm seeing some great comments coming in the webinar chat. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you.
Y'all have a wonderful rest of your week today and tomorrow, and then have a very nice long holiday weekend. We'll see you soon.
Everybody. Thanks.